Have you ever felt more tired or drained after talking to someone? As we get older, we start to value our time and energy more than ever. We realize that peace of mind is not just a luxury, it's essential. But even in our 70s or 80s, many of us still find ourselves tangled in relationships that cost more than they give. Sometimes it's out of habit, other times it's guilt. But the truth is, there comes a point in life where choosing who not to engage with becomes just as important as choosing who to invite in. In this video, we're diving into 5 types of people you should think twice about engaging with after 70. Not because you're cold or selfish, but because you've earned the right to protect your peace. These aren't dramatic enemies or obvious troublemakers. Often they're people we've known for years, family members, neighbors, old friends. But as we age, our needs change, and so do the relationships that truly serve us. In this video, you'll learn to recognize 5 types of people whose presence may quietly chip away at your emotional well-being. Stay with us until the end. Not only will you learn how to identify these people, but you'll also walk away with a stronger sense of the kind of presence you want in your life from this point forward. And it might just change how you choose your company from now on. Number 1. Emotional leeches. There are people in this world who don't mean to hurt you, but they drain you anyway. They don't yell. They don't insult. In fact, they often seem kind, even warm. But every conversation revolves around their pain, their fear, their drama. Every visit leaves you exhausted. These are emotional leeches, and after 70, it's time to step back from them, for your own health. They might show up as old friends who always need rescuing. They might be neighbors who constantly want to vent. Sometimes, they're even people you once leaned on during your own hard times. But now, the roles have reversed, and the only thing they seem to want from you is your attention, your sympathy, and your emotional bandwidth. Here's what makes them different from someone who's just going through a rough patch. Emotional leeches never seek solutions. They don't want to grow, shift, or heal. They want to circle the same worries over and over and bring you along for the ride. At first, it may feel like you're being a good listener, but over time you start to notice you're the one carrying the heaviness when they leave, and that weight adds up. There's real science behind this. Researchers have found that consistently absorbing other people's stress can lead to elevated cortisol levels, what many call the stress hormone. That can affect your immune system, your sleep, your heart health, and even your ability to enjoy things you once loved. So when someone says, "I feel drained" after talking to them, it's not just a metaphor. It's your body trying to tell you something important. And the truth is, emotional leeches rarely change unless they truly want to. It doesn't matter how many hours you spend listening, how many times you give advice, or how patient you are. If someone isn't interested in shifting their mindset, your presence alone won't fix them. What it will do is slowly deplete you. Consider Ellen, a 74-year-old retired teacher who spent years taking calls from an old friend she'd known since college. That friend, Anne, had always struggled with anxiety and disappointment. Ellen was happy to be there, at first, but eventually the calls became daily, then multiple times a day. Ellen realized she was rearranging her entire routine just to emotionally prop up someone who never even asked how she was doing. One afternoon, Ellen let the call go to voicemail. Then another. She didn't cut Anne off completely, but she redefined the relationship. She started taking walks during those hours instead. She felt her shoulders ease for the first time in years. You can love someone and still protect yourself. You can wish someone well and still choose not to engage in their endless cycles. After 70, your emotional energy is sacred. You deserve relationships that feel reciprocal, nourishing, and respectful. Number 2, manipulative relatives. As we age, the shape of family changes. Children become adults. Siblings grow into different roles. And sometimes, without realizing it, the people closest to us begin using emotional tactics to get what they want. One of the most painful truths to face after 70 is this: not every relative deserves access to your time, energy, or resources. Manipulative family members don't always show their colors right away. In fact, many of them smile as they pull you into guilt. You never call me anymore. You wouldn't want to let your grandchildren down, would you? After everything I've done for you. It sounds like love, but it feels like pressure. And when you leave the conversation, you don't feel uplifted. You feel used. There's often an unspoken rule in families that age means you should give more, tolerate more, forgive faster, and expect less. But here's the truth. Just because you're older doesn't mean your boundaries should shrink. In fact, this is the time in your life when they should be clearest. Let's be honest. Many older adults carry a quiet fear of being left out or forgotten by family. Manipulative relatives know this, and sometimes, whether they mean to or not, they use it against you. They'll lean on your fear of being alone to get favors, money, help, or emotional labor that you don't truly have to give. And over time, you begin to question your own instincts. Am I being selfish? Am I the problem? But deep down, you know the difference between a request and a manipulation. The second one always leaves you feeling uneasy. It's important to trust that feeling. Take, for instance, Martha, a 78-year-old grandmother who had spent the last few years babysitting for her daughter every weekend. What started as an occasional favor slowly turned into an unspoken expectation. No gratitude, no flexibility, no choice, just a constant undercurrent of guilt. One day, Martha finally said, "I love my grandchildren deeply, but I also want my weekends back." The backlash she feared never really came, and the freedom she felt afterward? Priceless. This isn't about cutting ties or turning your back on family. It's about redefining what love looks like. Healthy love doesn't manipulate, shame, or trap you in silent contracts. It respects your boundaries, your time, and your right to say no. You are not here to serve everyone else until your last breath. You are here to enjoy the time you have left. And that means surrounding yourself with people who love you freely, not those who only love you when it benefits them. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps us keep creating content that informs and inspires you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, people who dismiss your wisdom. One of the quietest and most damaging forms of disrespect that older adults face is being spoken to as if they don't know anything anymore. You may have noticed it. It can show up in the way someone interrupts you, corrects you mid-sentence, or waves off your opinion with a smile that says, "You're from another time." These are the people who dismiss your wisdom. And after 70, they have no place in your inner circle. At first, it might seem like a harmless habit. A younger co-worker brushes off your suggestion. A friend's child jokes about your memory. Even your own family might make light of your experience or call you old-fashioned when you speak up. But over time, this pattern sends a clear message that your perspective no longer holds value. And that's simply not true. You've lived decades of life. You've navigated challenges they can't even imagine. You've worked, raised families, served your communities, survived loss, change, and everything in between. Your wisdom isn't outdated, it's earned. But when you're surrounded by people who treat your insight like a relic, it slowly wears on your confidence. And here's where it gets deeper. When others treat you like your thoughts no longer matter, you start to second-guess yourself. You might hold back in conversations. You might avoid giving advice. You might stay quiet, even when you know you have something meaningful to say. That silence isn't natural. It's learned. It's what happens when respect is consistently withheld. Take the story of Leonard, an 82-year-old retired mechanic. His granddaughter was having car trouble, and he offered some advice based on years of experience. She laughed and said, "Grandpa, I'll just ask Google." It was meant playfully, but the sting lingered, not because Leonard needed to be right, but because he felt invisible. That's the kind of quiet erosion that comes from being dismissed. Now, that doesn't mean every disagreement is disrespect. It's okay for people to have different views. But there's a world of difference between disagreement and dismissal. One invites dialogue, the other shuts you out. After 70, you deserve to be in rooms, literal or metaphorical, where your words are heard, your thoughts are respected, and your stories are welcomed. And it's not just about you, it's about what you model for others. When you demand respect, you show your grandchildren and your community that aging is not a decline. It's a rising, a deepening, a time of clarity, not irrelevance. You are not a backup dancer in someone else's life. You are the main act of your own. And anyone who consistently treats your voice as background noise doesn't belong center stage. You don't have to argue. You don't have to fight for space. You can simply choose to spend your time with people who see your value, not just for what you've done, but for who you are now. That choice, quiet as it may be, is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect there is. Number 4. Chronic complainers. One of the clearest signs that someone might not belong in your inner circle anymore is when they never seem to have anything good to say. No matter the day, the weather, or the company, they always find a way to bring the mood down. These are the chronic complainers, and if you're over 70, they can quietly become one of the biggest drains on your emotional energy. You know the type. You sit down at a cafe or a family gathering, and before your coffee even cools, they're already knee-deep in a story about how everything is going wrong. Their neighbor's dog, the news, the government, their dinner, their doctor. Nothing ever seems to go right for them. At first, you might feel tempted to listen, to help, to show kindness. But over time, it starts to take a toll. Why does it matter? Because after 70, your energy is no longer something you should spend recklessly. You've spent a lifetime being there for others, supporting friends through hard times, carrying emotional weight that wasn't yours. Now, it's your time. And people who constantly complain, without making any effort to change their situation, don't just waste your time. They slowly steal your joy. Psychologists call this emotional contagion. The idea that someone else's mood can quietly become your own. Sit long enough with someone who's bitter or negative, and you'll start to carry that same heaviness, even if nothing is wrong in your own life. And as you age, your emotional environment matters more than ever. It impacts your physical health, your motivation, your memory, even your sleep patterns. Take, for example, Harold, a 75-year-old widower who used to meet weekly with a group of longtime friends. Over time, he realized he left each gathering feeling worse than when he arrived. Why? Because one member of the group, a man he'd known for decades, never had a kind word to say about anything. Eventually, Harold made a gentle but firm decision. He'd still see the group, but only in smaller settings that didn't include that friend. And he said it changed everything. He started enjoying the time again, feeling lighter, feeling more like himself. The truth is, it's okay to choose joy. It's okay to choose people who uplift, not unload. Being a good person doesn't mean being everyone's emotional dumping ground. You can care about someone and still choose to protect your own peace. Letting go of chronic complainers doesn't mean you're turning your back on kindness. It means you're finally extending that kindness to yourself. Your support helps us continue creating content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5. Age deniers who pressure you. Not everyone ages the same way, and that's perfectly okay. But there's a certain type of person who refuses to accept aging at all, not just in themselves, but in everyone around them. These are the age deniers. And after 70, being around them can quietly make you feel ashamed of something that should be embraced: your years. Age deniers aren't always loud about it. Sometimes they wear the right clothes, say the right things, even act supportive. But underneath, there's a subtle discomfort they carry when it comes to getting older. They push you to move faster, act younger, ignore your limits, not because they want to help you thrive, but because your calm acceptance of aging makes them uncomfortable with their own. You might recognize them as the friend who teases you for using a walking stick, the cousin who rolls their eyes when you mention being tired, or the neighbor who says things like, "You've still got time for a second career," when all you want is a slow morning and a warm cup of coffee. It's all framed as encouragement, but it lands as pressure. Thank you for spending this time with us. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts truly matter. Reading your comments gives us encouragement, direction, and purpose. So here's the invitation. Protect your time, your energy, and your spirit like the treasures they are. You've given your whole life to others. Now, it's time to give the best of what's left to you. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content to inform, to uplift, and to inspire. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.